Hello, and welcome back to day 5, part 5. I must admit, I was a little worried when I went to bed last night. I wasn't sure if another dream was going to come or not, or what was going to happen. But it eventually did show up, and this is what I ended up writing when I woke up. He yelled, "Come inside, check out this guy's place." My eyes snapped open, and I found myself standing on the front porch of that emotionless guy's house from yesterday. At first, everything was shrouded in fog, but it slowly lifted until I could look out across the man's junk-filled yard. It was daylight now, and his truck was gone. We were at his house, alone. "Get in here!" I turned and walked to the door, now completely used to being able to do this. Once inside, I shivered as I walked through the man's living room. It was just as bad as the outside. Newspapers were stacked up 6 feet tall in all the corners. Boxes were stacked up all around too, full of junk. Figurines, knickknacks, cheap jewelry, old electronics, 8-tracks and cassette tapes, faded books. It looked like he used to run a junk store or a flea market or something like that. And he just brought all to his house one day. Roaches ran across everything too. The coffee table cluttered with empty chip bags and candy wrappers and Coke cans. They ran down the lampshades and around the edges, across an old stained couch, also piled with junk and newspapers. They scurried all across the floor and across his recliner. It looked like as if his recliner was the only place you could sit down in the house. It was the only thing that didn't have junk piled on it, but there was junk and trash piled all around it though, including piles of newspapers with articles clipped out of them. I went to the kitchen, and that was a mistake. It was 10 times worse than the living room. You couldn't even see the kitchen table except for the legs, nor the chairs around it either. Dirty dishes were stacked up on both sides of the sink and in the sink, and all across the counter. Dirty rags and towels were piled up on the floor. There were boxes full of dusty canned goods, packages of rice, beans, and noodles everywhere. It was disgusting, and there was just as many roaches running around in there as there was in the living room. "When you get through gawking, come in here," shouted the demon. I went down the hallway, which was more like a narrow path because the newspapers and magazines were stacked up all the way down on one side. "In here," he said from the first bedroom as I passed by the bathroom. I didn't dare look in there. I stepped into the bedroom to find the demon had already formed into a man wearing the business suit. He was staring at one of the walls, and it caught my attention too. Clipped out newspaper articles covered it from ceiling to the floor. All the walls were like this, articles coating like cheap wallpaper. "Looks like we have ourselves here what one might call a lunatic." His grin widened. "Much potential in this one." Pointing towards the various pictures, he said, "Look at this. Police shootings, terrorist attacks, immigration problems, mass shootings. This guy is fascinated with violence. He's a ticking time bomb. I wonder why." Before I could answer, he turned to me. Now I know why he was doing everything by the book at his job. And I said, "Why is that?" And he said, "Because he doesn't want to bring attention to himself. He's the quiet one you always hear about in the news. The ones that went off the deep end and no one had a clue why." His voice changed as he began to mock someone you might hear in an interview. "He was such a nice guy, such a quiet guy. I don't understand it. He never missed a day's of work. He was always on time. He was courteous and respectful. I just don't understand what happened." He laughed and turned back to the wall. "Or like the waitress at the cafe." His voice rose an octave. "He was such a nice guy, always gave great tips. I'm shocked. I just can't believe he went and did something like that. I've known him for years." He laughed again, and this time it sounded more devious, diabolical in a way. "So, you think he's about to snap and kill someone?" I asked. The demon shrugged. "I don't know. Not yet, maybe, but he's close. Maybe with a little help, a little push." His grin sickened me. "Come here, I'll show you what else I found." I followed him down the hall to the back bedroom. It was just as filthy as the rest of the house. The dresser was stacked up with so much junk you couldn't even see the mirror behind it. Clothes covered the floor and half the bed. The other half of the bed was sank in as if it was the only side the man had been sleeping on for years. Empty whiskey bottles and beer cans were piled in the corner, many of the bottles broken. Some, by the way it looked, he would lie there and drink until he got drunk and then throw the empty containers into the pile before passing out. Pointing to the only newspaper article on the wall in his room, right above the bed, the demon said, "What does that say?" I moved closer and looked at the badly faded article. There were rips and stains on it too. More than likely, a few of those empty whiskey bottles had hit the article. There's glass shards behind the bed. "It's talking about a shooting in Texas somewhere," I said. "Something about several people killed, and they're looking for the gunman, and I really can't tell anything else on it. It's too faded, and I don't see any dates or anything." He began nodding as if getting excited. "I think I understand now. I bet he lost someone he cared about in that shooting, and now he blames everyone. The media, cops, immigrants, probably even religious organizations. Either that or he's trying to decide which ones to blame. This is going to take some work, but it is going to be worth it." He went through the closet door and then came back out looking disappointed. "I haven't found any guns yet, though. He's not as far along as I'd hoped he would be, but he's getting there." I almost wished I hadn't said anything back at the cafe about, picking the first one to come through that pays. Was it going to be my fault that Darkness knew about this man now? Or was it my fault? What were they going to do? Push him over the edge? Is this how it worked when they manipulated someone into doing terrible things? Was it going to be my fault if people were soon killed? "Nah," said the demon, as if he could read my mind. "We would have found him eventually." He spread his arms out as wide as his grin. "You wanted to know how we work, didn't you? How we get people to do things that you thought they would never do? How we control? Well, this is a prime example number one. We use what they already have, whether it's fear, anger, hatred, jealousy, or whatever." He looked back to the article. "And revenge is one of the easiest of them all." Turning back to me, he lifted his hand in the air with his finger and thumb touching. "But it looks like this is where our journey ends, my friend. I'll be going at this alone from here on out. But don't worry, we'll make sure there is someone else to take our place and help you continue learning, as you call it." With a twisted grin, he snapped his fingers, and I woke back up in bed. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day.